Hey everybody, this is Miss Durham back with another video. By now, you should know, go get your math materials, your paper, your pen, whatever you're using, and let's get started. Today we are working on Module 6, Lesson 7, Grade 5. And this particular video is geared towards the problem set. So let's hurry and try to make sure that we don't have to split it into two videos. Let's look at number 1, okay? And I'm going to move this down here. It says complete the chart, then plot the points on the coordinate plane below, okay? So we have our quadrant over here from our coordinate. They want us to complete the chart. So what's wrong with this chart? What's missing from this particular chart, okay? They have all of the coordinates for that are on the x-axis and all that are on the y-axis, and they want us to complete the coordinate pair. So when you all are writing your coordinate pair, we know that they belong in parentheses. The first number is always the number that's on the x-axis, and here they give us the x-axis is 2, so 2 goes first, and y-axis goes next, 3. So the coordinate pair here would be 2, 3. Let's do the same for the next two coordinate pairs. Here we have x is 4, and then y is 5, and then the next one, x is 6, and when x is 6, y equals 7. So we've completed the chart. That's fine. That's done. They want us to plot now on the coordinate plane, so let's get ready to plot. My students know that we're plotting. Before we start plotting, though, you all, I want you to get in the habit of analyzing your grid. Your coordinate, your coordinate grid here, okay? Here. So let's look at the x-axis. And I'm going to put X for here and Y to indicate the Y-axis there. Now, we go from, or they're counting from 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, and 6 to 8. So there's some numbers missing in between. What numbers are missing from 0 to 2? What whole numbers? 1. Very good. And so there's only one tick mark in here, so we know that that tick mark is probably the value of 1 here. What's missing? What whole numbers are missing from 2 to 4? 3. Very good. And there's only one tick mark in the middle, so we know that that's probably the value of the 3. So I want to go in and try to fill in some of the missing values or missing numbers, or numbers that are not indicated on the number on the x-axis. So this would be 1. We have 2. This one's 3. We have 4 already. Then that one would be 5. Let me write it in. 5. We have 6. Then this one's 7. 8. Then this is 9. 10, and then that one should be 11. And the same thing goes for the y-axis. You all need to pause so that you can draw your axis or draw your coordinate plane, draw your quadrant. Then you pause to do so. Ms. Norm's going to continue to keep the video length. 1 would be here. We have 2, so we're missing 3. 4, we're missing 5. 5, we're missing 6, we're missing 7. We have 8, we're missing 9. 10, we're missing 11. All right, so now we filled in some of those missing values or values that were not indicated on our x-axis. Now we can go in and plot a little bit easier, okay? So here we're plotting the 2, 3 coordinate pair. I go over to 2 on the x-axis and then up to 3 on the y-axis. So Ms. Durham will go ahead and plot here. 2 on the x-axis and 3 on the y-axis. And I want to make it blue. Okay. Now the next one is 4, 5. So I'm going over to 4 on the x-axis and then up to 5 on the y-axis. So then we'll plot there. Plot it on your paper as well. And if you don't have your Engage New York pages, anybody who's looking at the video, it's not just for Ms. Durham students. Anybody who needs help with these particular modules, you can look at my video, subscribe, give me a like, okay? I don't have any problems. You are looking at the videos, trying to get a deeper understanding. I want everybody to learn, okay? Let's keep going. The last coordinate pair is 6, 7. So we'll go over to 6 on the x and then up to 7 on the y axis, excuse me. Okay, so I'll get ready to plot here. Okay, very good for us. The next instruction says use a straight edge to draw a line that connects these points. So I'm going to try, you all, when it's so small, when the grids are so small, I have to try to use my finger. Okay, so I did the best I could with that to connect those points. So we have a line there, okay? It's not vertical, horizontal. This is diagonal line. Write a rule that shows the relationship between x and y coordinates of points on the line. So for those of us who forgot a little bit about rules, remember when you were like in 3rd grade or 4th grade and the teacher gave you a sequence of numbers? I'm going to give us a quick example here. A sequence of numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And you all had a discussion about rules and what would be the rule, because what if you were missing the next 2 numbers in the sequence? How do you find out which 2 numbers to input? So there was one way to skip count, yes, and there's another way to count by the rule or to determine the rule. So you would ask yourself, what did you do to 2 to get to 4? So what did we do to 2 that gave us the result of 4? So 2 plus 1 equals 3, so that's not it. 2 plus 2 equals 4, good. So if the rule is plus 2, that means I can use that same plus 2 all the way down the number line. So 4 plus 2, does it equal 6? Yes. 6 plus 2, does it equal 8? Yes. 8 plus 2, does it equal 10? Yes. I can use this same rule to give us the next number in this particular sequence. Okay, so 10 plus 2 equals 12. So 12 will be the next number in that sequence, because we determined the rule was plus 2. Then 12 plus 2 equals 14. That gives us the next number in that sequence. So remember, 3rd, 4th grade, for most of you all were learning how to determine the rule in a sequence of numbers. The same thing works here. We have to analyze the coordinate pairs and try to determine a rule. The system is moving you towards linear equations, and I love it. Big kid math stuff. Big time stuff. Let's go. Let's get it. All right, so we're going to try to work our way there. Slowly but surely, Ms. Dorn doesn't want to leave any students behind. So let's get back to it. I'm going to erase. Okay, now we have to look at our coordinate pairs and see if we can determine a rule here. So excuse me. So let's analyze and see. When x is 2, y equals 3. What did they do to 2? Okay, what possible solutions could you have? What did they possibly do? What kind of math did they do to 2 so that the answer would equal 3? So maybe it'll help if I write it out. 2 blank, what number equals 3? So this is a math operation. Did we add? Did we subtract? Did we multiply? Or did we divide? That's not division. Hold on. Or did we divide? Okay, and please forgive me, you all. I'm writing with my little tiny finger here. All right, so 2 plus what equals 3? 2 minus what equals 3? 2 divided by what equals 3? And can I move it down just so we can pay a little bit more attention here? So here, I was trying to input this. And I'll write in black. 2. And then we need a math operation. Times what number equals 3? So are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? Okay. So 2 times what equals 3? 2 plus 1 equals 3. That's a possible rule. So plus 1 could be a rule. 2 minus anything, does that equal 3? No, very good. So we know we can cross that out. It's not subtraction here. 2 times a number would equal 3. No, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 3. So then we know multiplication is not part of the rule there. 2 divided by a number equals 3. Nope. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. And then 2 divided by 1 equals 2. So it would not equal 3. So the only possible solution here would be to add. 2 plus 1 equals 3. So let's test it to see if that is the correct rule. Our plus 1 will probably be our rule in this particular sequence of numbers here. Okay, so let's go here and I'll move it. So we already found out that 2, which is x, when x is 2 plus 1, y is 3. Good. Now let's go here. 4, which is x, when x is 4 plus 1, y equals 5. 4 plus 1 equals 5. Good. And here is 6. X is 6. When x is 6 plus 1, and y equals 7. So 6 plus 1 equals 7. So we've discovered it. Yay, 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 yay. Our rule here would be plus 1. So it asks us for the rule. Write a rule that shows the relationship between x plus y. So I'm going to put my rule here for a second and erase up here and give myself some room and some headspace here. Okay. So if our rule is +1, they want us to write the equation in a math sort of way with the relationship between x and y. So we've already discovered when x is a number, we add 1, which is our rule, to equal y. And let's explore that a little bit, you all. Okay. So just like they've showed us up here, 2 is x, and 3 is y, 4 is x, 5 is y, 6 is x, and 7 is y. So let's move on and let me plug them in. In algebra, like we were starting in class, x, when they have those letters there, you just replace them with the numbers indicated. So let's look at the first one here. Okay, so here, if I were going to fill them in our equation here, x equals 2, so I would write 2 plus 1 equals y equals 3 there. So let's see if it's correct. 2 plus 1 does equal 3. All right, let's go back and write the next equation. So we know from our equation the first part has to be x because x is indicated there. So the next one, they have 4 for x, and we fill in the rest of the equation. Plus 1 should equal the same y, 5. 4 plus 1 equals 5, and yes, we do have 5 here for y. And the same thing should work with 6, 7, with the coordinate pair for 6, 7. You need to go in and work it out and do that on your own. You can do so. Just pause the video, and Ms. Durham will see you when you get back. Okay, let's continue. All right, let's go to C, you all. I said I was going to stop saying you all. Name 2 other points that are on this line. So we have the line that we've constructed here. Okay. They want 2 other points that are on that line. So let's just draw. It didn't say which points. So they give us the option of giving them 2 other points on that line. I was trying to draw a nice little straight edge line here. Let me see if they'll let me delete this line without deleting the points. No, they won't. Okay, we have to get nice and straight, and okay, in order to stay on that line. If I look at the other points, there's 2 diagonal, and then we have that point. I have 2 up diagonal, I have that point. If I go 2 up diagonal, then the next point should be here. Let me grab a pen. And if I follow, or if we follow the same rule, I go 2 up diagonal, and the next point should be there. All right, they want us to go ahead and give the coordinates for those particular points. I'm just going to name this point A1 and A2. Okay? All right, let's give the coordinates for A1. We know that when we name coordinate pairs, we put them in parentheses, and there's a comma that separates the x from the y. So for A1, where does it sit on the x-axis? On the x-axis, A1 sits on the number 8. So the value for x for A1 would be 8. Now let's look at the y-axis for A1. A1 is here, the y-axis is here, and that value is 9. So y equals 9 for A1. So the coordinate pair for A1 would be 8, 9. Now let's move on to A2. We know what we have to enclose them in parentheses and a comma in the middle. Okay, so let's look at A2. On the x-axis, A2 sits on 10. So the value for x would be 10 here. On the y-axis, A2 sits on 11. So the value for x would be 11 there. So we have our values. We have our coordinate pairs for both A1 and A2. Good job for us. Let's move on. Complete the chart. Then plot the points on the coordinate plane. And here, let me give you a quick tip, because this just came to my mind. Sometimes it may help if you watch the complete video first, then go back and watch the video while you do your writing. Okay? That may help out a whole lot. And you have the freedom. The best thing about YouTube is you have the freedom to pause the video as much as you need to, slow the video down if you need to. Some of the parents are using the captions so that they can view the video in Spanish language. Best thing about YouTube is that we have all those options to cater to our specific needs. So if you need to watch the complete video first, okay, then go back and watch the video again and do your writing. That's fine. Whatever we need to do so that we learn the concepts. All right. Okay, moving on to number 2. Complete the chart and then plot the coordinates. Okay. So let's get a pen here. All right. All we have to do is write our coordinate pairs. And if you think you can do so, pause it and you go ahead and get it done. Here, x is 1/2, y is 1. Here, x is 1, y is 2. Here, x is 1 and 1/2, and then y is 3. And then here, x is 2, and y equals 4. Okay? All right, now they want us to plot our coordinates on our grid, so let's get started. Let's analyze our x-axis and our y-axis first to find out those missing values. Here we go from 0 to 1 with 1 in the middle. There's no whole numbers missing from 0 to 1 because 1 is the next whole number from 0. So we know everything in the middle here has to have a value of a fraction. Okay? So we've been working on this. We just count how many spaces. Before you get to the first whole number, there's 2 spaces. So the denominator will be 2. And this is the first space out of the 2, so we know the value is 1/2. So each one of these tick marks holds a value of 1/2. So since the next one is after 1, we're going to put 1, and then there's 1/2 after the 1, so that would be 1 and 1/2. This one is 2 and 1/2. This one will be 3 and 1/2, and I don't have room. My little finger can't fit in there, but it's the same thing for the x and the y axes. This is 1/2. This is 2 and 1/2, 3 and 1/2. The same thing, you keep going. Okay? Alrighty then. Let's get back. They want us to plot the coordinate pairs on our quadrant or on our grid. The first coordinate pair is 1/2 and 1. So 1/2 on x, which is here, and then we go up to 1 on the y. So Ms. Dorm will plot there. As neat as I can with my little finger. The next one is 1, 2. So 1 on the x-axis, which is here, and then we go up to 2 on the y-axis, which is there. And now I'll plot my point here. The next one, 1 and 1/2 and 3. So I'm moving over to 1. And then I'm going to move up to 3 on the y-axis. So move over to 1 on the x-axis because that was the first number that they gave us, 1 and 1/2. And then we move up to 3 on the y-axis. And then I'll plot there. Okay, we have one more coordinate pair to plot, 2 and 4. So we're moving over to 2 on the x-axis and up to 4 on the y-axis. And then I'll plot here. Very good. Okay, and I'm guessing the next one's going to tell us to... Uh-oh, did I miss 2 and 4? Yeah. To draw a line. So let's look and see. A says draw a straight edge line connecting these points. I'm going to do my best. It's not going to be the straightest, but Ms. Dorm will try to do her best. Very good. Okay, I tried really hard here. Very good. Okay, so B, write a rule showing the relationship between x and y. So we need to do our analysis here, okay? I usually would use this set, but because everything's so written crazy here, we're going to look over here, okay? So when x is 1/2, y equals 1. What did they do to x so that the end result equals 1? Let me write out an equation and see if we can figure this one out. So x plus minus multiply or divide what number equals y. Okay, so let's see if we can fill in for our missing letters or missing. Here we go. I'll move that over there. Okay. All right, let's get back focused. So when x is 1/2, so the first one says that x is 1/2. Are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing by what number to equal 1? Okay, so let's just look and see. 1/2 plus something can equal 1. That's possible. 1/2 minus any number, would it equal 1? No, so we know that subtraction will not be part of our rule. 1/2 times something can equal 1. Yes, so that's possible. 1/2 divided by any number, would that equal 1? No, so we know the division is not part of our rule. So let's explore addition and multiplication. 1/2 plus, okay, and let me go back here. 1/2 plus what number would equal 1? Think about it. And I hope you said 1/2. So 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1. So let's see and write that out to the side. That could be our rule. But let's look. We also said that multiplication could be a rule as well. So let's multiply and see. Okay. 1/2 times what equals 1? I don't know. Go off to the side and try it on your paper. Let me see. Miss Norm will try 2. 1/2 times 2. How do we do this? Place the 2 over 1 because it's a whole number and we multiply straight across. 1 times 2 equals 2. And then 2 times 1 equals 2. 2 over 2 equals 1. So that's right. So 1/2 times 2 equals 1. So times 2 could be a possible rule for us as well. Okay? All right, Ms. Norm is going to erase a little bit so that we have some more room and brain clarity. Okay? And then we'll test out our rules to see which one fits all of our coordinate pairs. So 1/2 times 2 equals 1. If this is the rule, it works here. 1 times 2 equals what? 2. Yes, it does work. 1 and 1/2 times 2. Yep, you may have to work that one out on the side, but I want to tell you, why don't you just pause it and work that and do that particular problem. 1 and 1/2 times 2. Pause it now. Don't cheat. Get the experience. Get the reinforcement, you all. Get the practice. Okay, I'm glad you're back. 1 and 1/2 times 2. Oh, boy. Does equal 3. Very good for us. And then 2 times 2 equals what? Everybody knows that? 4. So this rule does work. Multiply by 2. That rule really works. Let's see. I'm very interested. Let's see if this particular rule works for us. Because there could be just possibly more than one rule. It could be. Okay? So plus 2. Let's see. 1/2 plus 2 equals 1. We know that. 1 plus 1/2 equals 2. Good. 1 and 1/2 plus 1/2. Nah. 1 and 1/2 plus 1/2 doesn't equal 3. That equals 2. So this is not the rule. So we found our rule. Yay for us. Okay. Our rule here would be times 2. So I'm going to put that where it asks for the rule. It says write a rule showing the relationship between x and y. Times 2. Now we have to write an equation. Last time they asked for an equation. Let's just write it just in case. Let me get an eraser to give us some room. So our rule is times 2. And I'll put that here. Now we have to write an equation for that particular rule. Okay? Here's our equation. When x, you take x, you multiply by 2 to equal y, right? And that's exactly what we did. We took x, let me move it up. We took x, we multiplied x by 2, and we got the answer was y. We took x, which is 1, we multiplied 1 by 2, and we got the answer, which is y, 2. We took x, we multiplied by 2, and we got y. So the rule for us here would be times 2, and the equation would be x times 2 gives you the answer of y. Okay? Very good. I feel like we're on our way. Good job. Let's look at C. Name 2 other points that are on this line. So now we have to, just like we did before, grab 2 other points. And I know that we're moving up 2 spaces here. 1, 2, 1, 2. So the next one be here. 1, 2, 1, 2, and the next one would be there. So let me input those on the quadrant. Here, and then the next one would be here. Now they want us to name them and then give the coordinate pair. I'm going to name this one A1 and A2. Okay. All right, let me move this over here. This would be the coordinate pair for A1, A2. All right, coordinate pair here. Let's look at the y-axis for A1. A1 sits on 3 1/2 on the y-axis. So let me write it in, 3 1/2. And then A1 sits on 5 on the y-axis. Okay, so I misspoke. So A1 sits on 3 1/2 on the x-axis, and then 5 on the y-axis. Now let's write the coordinate pair for A2. Can I erase a little bit, you all? Thank you. I feel like we run out of room here. Okay, the coordinate pair for A2. You know they have to be enclosed by parentheses and then separated by a comma, right? So A2 on the x-axis, because x always has to be plotted first, x sits on 4 1/2. So let's write that in for x, 4 1/2. And then also the y-axis for A2 is 6. It sits on the value of 6, so y equals 6 for A2. So we did really, really good. You all, I'm very happy about what we've done here. We only got through one page, and I feel like it's getting longer. I'm going to stop the video here. Come back so that you can get the next video. We have a lot more work to do, you all. Not a lot, but about the same amount as the first video. Ms. Durham wishes everybody wonderful learning. I hope this is a way to help you all understand. Anybody in the universe can use these videos, you all. So to learn, not copyright my videos, but to learn. And not sell them, and don't give me, but to learn. All right, bye everybody. See you.